I hope you enjoyed a great Martin Luther King Day, whether you had the day off or you had to work. Today, a special day for sure. Not only is it a holiday, but this is Governor Christie's last full day as governor of New Jersey. He heads out tomorrow on Tuesday, and Governor-elect Phil Murphy becomes the 56th governor of the state of New Jersey. A lot of things ahead. The state is in trouble, as you know, whether it's NJ Transit or taxes or the condition of our roads. There is a lot for this new governor to tackle. So I want to bring in two experts who have been there pretty much every step of the way as we've gone past the last 8 years of Governor Christie, and maybe looking ahead with some anxiety and some positive optimism for the next 4, maybe 8 years. Jeanette Hoffman joins me. She's a Republican strategist who knows an awful lot about what's gone on with this administration in the last 8 years. Jeanette, good to see you. How are you?
Good, Bill. Thanks.
Good. We're also joined by Bill Caruso, who is a Democratic strategist, and I know he's looking with a lot of optimism as Governor Murphy takes the oath of office on Tuesday.
Good to see you, Bill.
All right. So, guys, let's start. You know what, Jeanette, let me start with you. It's a Republican governor leaving office. Give me a grade on the last 8 years. You probably know where I stand. I probably give the guy a D or a C, maybe on a good day, probably not. But honestly, tell me some good things that you think have happened over the past 8 years.
So, Bill, I'll be a little more generous than you. I'm going to give him a B-, solely for the fact that New Jersey's economy really improved under Governor Christie. We have more New Jerseyans working than any point in our state's history. And when Governor Christie came into the office, that wasn't the case. We were hemorrhaging jobs.
Bill, what do you think? I mean, I hear some of this, and even the economic positives that we've seen, you still have people with an exit plan trying to get out of the state because it is simply unaffordable. And you could argue that for the average homeowner taxpayer, it's gotten worse in 8 years.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, Jeanette's right in the sense that when Governor Christie took office, the state was bleeding jobs, but the country was. We were in the heart of this recession. The true story now is the recovery, and we're lagging behind our neighbors. We're lagging behind New York, Pennsylvania. We're more akin to Mississippi and Alabama, and that's not where Jerseyans want to be. We lead still in foreclosures. This isn't a great economy right now.
Can I ask you both, though, why are we so forgiving of former governors? I mean, rest in peace, Governor Brendan Byrne, certainly a prolific guy to hold the office, but honestly, we got the income tax. Atlantic City is a mess. It was like a time bomb waiting to go off, decades later. Why are we so soft on these former governors? I understand respect for someone who's passed on, but, Governor Christie has left a bit of a mess. And, remember the recent legacy, gas tax, and the roads aren't fixed. NJ Transit, who he praises, the State House renovation. And then, let's not forget, he tried to sneak that book deal in at the last minute. Jeanette?
Yeah, that's true. Well, first of all, Bill, I think time heals all wounds. And the reason why we're so forgiving of past governors is because the next guy in office, we start criticizing him even more. And I think this is going to happen with Phil Murphy. We're going to miss Chris Christie because Bill talked about jobs and how our state is still lagging amongst other states in the nation. I think it's going to get worse under Phil Murphy, and all the tax increases that he's proposed just in this campaign alone.
Bill, Jeanette raises a good point, but on the other side, Phil Murphy taking action even before he becomes governor, asking for the resignation of a lot of the hacks and bureaucrats at NJ Transit. From a Republican standpoint, from a taxpayer standpoint, I think it's a good first step. I'm happy.
Yeah, listen, I think the new governor's got a lot on his plate. I think there are structural issues, and I think that's part of why we look at governors of past and with a little bit more fondness after some time, because you realize these are really hard problems to solve. This new governor is going to put his best effort forward and try to tackle some of these issues. We already saw him looking at New Jersey Transit and restructuring, and how are we going to become a global leader again in the economic fight. And I think that's his focus.
Are either of you concerned, though, that you've got a governor coming in that it seems more willing and eager to fight the President Trump and his administration and sue over taxes than he is actually dig in and fight for what we need in New Jersey, which is affordability and jobs?
Yeah, well, time will tell on what Murphy's true agenda is for New Jersey, or if it's a national agenda because he thinks he can run for president. I don't know, Bill, but listen, the day of the inauguration, I think everybody in New Jersey is wishing Phil Murphy well and hopes that he does a good job because we want to see our state succeed.
If there's one thing, Bill, that you think he ought to do immediately, forget about legalizing marijuana and the millionaire's tax. All those are going to be fights that are going to take years. What's the first thing you think he ought to do and will do?
I think he's doing it. I think he's putting the right people in place, and I think that's number one. The job number one for him is putting his team together that's going to come in and tackle these problems. And listen, you can walk and chew gum. I'm okay with a little bit of political theater, and you want to challenge this president and the national government on things that are impacting New Jersey in an adverse way. That's what I want in my state leader. But we got state problems here that got to be fixed, and I think Phil Murphy's got his eye on the ball on those things.
Jeanette, you agree with that?
Time will tell. We'll see when he gives his budget address to the state of New Jersey in February. And then we'll really see what, the devil's in the details with that, how he's going to spend our state's money, if he's going to raise taxes, if he's going to tackle the big issues like our state's pension and benefit system, which costs taxpayers an inordinate amount of money out of our state budget every year. So I'm going to wait and see on where Phil Murphy's going to go here, but I would caution him not to be too political on the national level, because look where it got Chris Christie.
Well, I would agree with that, and I'll tell you this, there are some things that he can do that would have me right on board in line with him. One, renegotiate those health care contracts. Let's do what now former Senator Jen Beck had talked about for a couple of years. Renegotiate the health benefits so that you can bring down those costs by billions of dollars and still not deny our first responders and state workers access to excellent health care. That, and I want to see an honest conversation with this White House and the Department of the Interior on the possibility and feasibility of drilling off of our coast, because I think that is something that is a completely untapped resource that we're not having an honest conversation about. We got to get beyond the fear mongering. So let's see how practical he gets. And you know what? Come on, get the trains running. We'll see.
Absolutely.
We'll wish him luck. We'll give him at least a couple hours to get settled before we go after him.
It's very generous.
Jeanette, Bill, thank you. Always good to see you guys.
Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.